Hey everybody, Ben here from Cinderblock Studios, and I'm back with another quick tip for helping you guys blend with your acrylics. So it was either last year or the year before, I don't quite remember at this point, but I did a painting called Reflecting Pool. In that painting, I used a liner brush and just some regular acrylic paint and water to blend out an area about yay big, creating sort of these symbols carved into rock, or at least the appearance of that, because I didn't use any medium or gel to help me do that. Normally I'm using like a thick molding paste to kind of build up actual texture, but I decided against that. Now in this piece I'm currently working on, I decided to do the exact same thing, but on a much larger scale. Rather than working in an area about yay big, I'm working on half the piece. Now the problem with this is that while it was really easy to do that with just water, a small brush, and some paint, I can't do that in this large of a scale. I need a way to keep my paint a little bit wetter as I go. Now, a lot of people use some acrylic glazing liquid to extend the drying time of their acrylics, and it works. But one thing glazing liquid does, is specifically if you mix it directly into the paint, is that it makes your paint more transparent. It makes it a glaze. Now in a recent piece, not this one, I sort of discovered a new way to use glazing liquid that I think is super effective and will be really good for this piece and really good to share with all of you. So let me show you what I've got going on here. So I'm setting up this particular piece to have a lot of these symbols, and in order to do this at least more effectively, I've decided to relatively limit my color palette. So all I've got is just some white, some black, and some of my used paint mix. If you're looking for something similar to this for a technique to try yourself, I'd suggest some Payne's Gray. Should give you a very similar effect. Although my mixed paint I think does lean a little bit greener than Payne's Gray, and Payne's Gray will lean a little bit bluer. So what I kind of discovered was if you lay down the glazing liquid first and blend on top of that, not only does your paint stay relatively opaque, but it also gives you a nice extended working time for your acrylics. And that's really all I want to show you today, is just basically how to how to do that. Excuse me. So I should note though that if you're going to do this, make sure everything is dry. Like let your paint dry overnight and then do this on top. The biggest issue here is if you start spreading the glazing liquid while the underlying bond of the acrylic is still working its way into the canvas. It might be dry to the touch, but it's not completely dry yet. What you can do when you're spreading that glazing liquid on is just lift up the underlying paint and ruin your painting. So make sure your surface is indeed dry. So for this I'm just going to grab a relatively nice wide brush, and then, oh, hello. The glazing liquid, I'm just going to start with a nice strip across the top. Wet my brush, and then just spread it. And the thicker the glazing liquid is, the longer it'll take to dry. But it should still be relatively thin. A nice heavier area like this will probably take almost a couple of days to dry, completely anyway. So from here, I can just start working the paint right into it. Actually, this gray color I'm using is the same as the background, so I'll start working some white in. And it just starts mixing right with the glaze. So rather than making the paint transparent, you're essentially making a transparent layer on the canvas and giving yourself a nice long time to work with your acrylics. So if you're somebody who struggles to blend with their acrylics, try this technique out. Remember, don't mix the glaze right in with their paint. Put it on the canvas first, and then start playing with your paint. It could be a really valuable technique for you, especially if you live in a drier environment. If you're in an area, say like the Arizona Southwest, desert areas, anywhere that doesn't get a lot of rain, probably going to have a hard time just blending with water. So give this technique a try in your next piece. Subscribe for more like this. And this is Ben from Cinderblock Studios. See you guys next time. Oh, jeez. I really should sit when I do that, because it's like crouched down. My knees are bent. That's not good for you. That's really not good for you at all. Alright, back to painting.